Exactly.
We're recording.
Okay, and let me get
Everybody got your act right juice?
yeah, what we can say in public juice. All right, Greg, go ahead and start with the introductions and stuff, and then I'll get us online.
You don't have it on Facebook yet, so let's.
Let me see. I'm
We'll wait.
waiting.
We'll wait momentarily.
Okay, all right.
This is what happened when we be cutting up before the show starts.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes you have to go through all these different gyrations with Facebook, making sure I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. I'm a human. Let's go. Let's see. Okay. All righty. All right. All righty. Ready?
5, 4,
Ah.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Here we go.
It's scared. It's almost there.
It's almost there. Got to send it to my email and all these lovely things. Hello, everyone, though. Glad you are here. I guess I am happy for the security, though. The cyberish stuff is happening.
February 12th. Wasn't that Lincoln's birthday? February 12th? Abe Lincoln. That was used to be President's Day, and I thought Lincoln was on the 12th.
Isn't that why that happened? That used to be, isn't that
That was
why?
President's. It was Lincoln's birthday and then Washington's birthday, and then they combined them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they gave us too many days off. Go ahead. It's playing games with me.
Good morning. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed. Today is the 12th of February. And right before we started here, we were talking about that in the old days, that was Lincoln's birthday. And so welcome. Our guest today is Kevin Harbour, and he'll be joining us momentarily. My name is Gregory Sneed, founder and CEO of Lifesaver Financial Services. I help my clients keep more of the money they make so they feel better about their money and they're better about their life. Now, my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage the Queen, the Black History Month Queen of the community briefing, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Hey everyone, welcome to the community briefing. Glad you are here. Right now, our resources are vitally necessary because the world has gone completely crazy. And so Black History Month is my favorite time of the year. Actually, being in Valentine's Day in the February is a good month to show all the love to our people. But do remember, we are Black 365 days a year. So we get to celebrate 365 days a year, but we get to be blackety black on this particular month. So now you can do whatever you want when it comes to that. We have a lot of events that are going on this weekend, but I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, and the inspiration behind this platform, making sure that we have a resource where we tell our own narrative, and tell our own stories and inform and meet those in our community that are doing amazing things, and so that they can then relate that to you and then introduce you to them so that you then can say, hey, I'm going to go talk to them if you have a problem. So that's the whole purpose of the community briefing. It is sponsored and powered by Recycling Black Dollars and the BBA, and it is monetarily powered by Los Angeles, LDC, Southern California Edison, PCR, Wells Fargo Bank, Cal, who else is under there? Urban Excellence, as well as SoCal Gas. As I said, we have a number of events happening. The Los Angeles Urban League has their Black History event going on. GLAC has their a Black History event as well. So the Urban League, you can go to their website to get details. It's going to be February 26th, and they're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of AI and the responsible artificial intelligence. And I believe GLAC is having a showcase, Black History Showcase, and there's also an installation of their board. So go over to their websites and check them out. And there's a host of others. Holly Mitchell is also having a Black History event celebrating 100 years of Black history in California. So honoring history, preserving legacies, and imagining the future. So go to their websites and check them out, register, and support. And with that, we have a fantastic team here as always. You've met Greg, and now you're gonna meet Miss Robin, and she's gonna our political responsibility. She's gonna tell you about that.
Greetings, everybody. Glad to be here. Robin Billups with the Billups Group.
Oh, and I forgot Stephen. I'm sorry, and I forgot Stephen,
our producer.
Our producer. Go ahead.
What I want to remind us, as I do every week, vote is just so critically important. That is really the currency that we have. And I implore you guys to start watching and listening to the BBC. If you want to get some direct, clear information about how the world sees the U.S., start listening to the BBC on C-SPAN and even on NPR and on the radio. But one thing I heard last week, I listened to Urban View just about all day, every day. If you don't have Sirius Radio, it's channel 126. If you don't have Sirius Radio, again, you can pick it up on online. And so I listen to them regularly. And one of the things that I heard last week that just reminds us of who we are, power is derived from the governed, meaning our votes is where the power is. You may not like politics, but politicians love you. They love for you not to show up. They love especially for us not to show up. And as we say every week, we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And we don't even have to go back that far. We're standing on the shoulders of our parents who put up with and dealt with a different kind of lifestyle in order for us to be able to have the freedom that we have. And then we just, again, we don't do this often enough, but let's salute our veterans, because if they didn't serve, we wouldn't have the freedom to have this voice that we have. So I'm gonna kick it over to Greg so we can get the briefing going. I'm looking forward to hearing from Kevin, again, one of the soldiers in the Army out there fighting for us and making a way for resources. So, Greg, let's kick it off.
All right. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Crystal. So those of you who are veterans know that sometimes I introduce the guests from their recent to the old. In this case, I'm going to go from the old to the new. So Kevin was born and raised here in Los Angeles, California, and he went to Loyola High School. In fact, I think I went to your elementary school. You had an event a couple of weeks ago.
Transfiguration.
Transfiguration. That's it. He got his bachelor's degree in psychology in UCLA, and he was very active and still very active with UCLA and the Black Alumni Association. All the Bruins say whoop whoop. Okay, there you go. He was with Digital Equipment Corporation and branch sales manager for about 10 years. He was with Verizon and director of the sales competence and regional sales manager. Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, he was general manager and franchise owner back then. Black Box Network Services, he was national account manager of global sales. LCH Technology Partners, director of global business development. Black Box Services again, principal consultant owner. And he also very active with the UCLA Alumni Association. He used to be the president of BizFed Institute. And either happily or sadly, he's no longer president. He is now the chief executive officer of BizFed Institute. So please join me in welcoming the CEO, that usually means chief everything officer, the CEO of BizFed Institute, Kevin Harbour, Senior.
First, thank you, Greg, and also Crystal, Robin, Stephen, for starting this process, and to some of my close friends that out there in the business world. Arnetta Mack, we were up in Sacramento. We've done some things, served in some panels, saw you recently. And then Sarah Harris, who I also serve with the Greater LA Black Leaders Collective. Greg, I guess with, as you said, UCLA Black alumni, it's near dear to my heart. Past president, we're gearing up for the Winston C. Dobie Scholarship Gala. Once graduate from UCLA, you can never leave, right? Right, Joseph? Can never leave. So we have passion, we have support, and I'm humbled that you asked me to speak today. One of the reasons why I wanted to come on was to share, what we do at BizFed Institute. As Greg mentioned, I'd been I left BizFed, LA County Business Federation, as their chief development officer. I did double duty when COVID hit. We all remember that in 2020, where I was a chief development officer and the president of BizFed Institute. Did that for a year and a half. I aged about 7 years, gray hair. But, it was a great journey. We learned a lot. Over the last 6 years, I served as president, and the founding CEO left a couple of weeks ago Tracy Hernandez, to form the new California Coalition. And the board said, hey, we're not bringing in anybody new. We'll just elevate Kevin. I said, okay. Not a lot different, but just a lot more liability in terms of what I have to sign. Now, with that said, I'm really excited about, being here because I want to share, especially in these days and times, how important it is for us to be involved in the kinds of work that we do. We convene forums as a 501c3. We convene forums on issues and opportunities that affect the regional economy. And that could range from infrastructure like water, energy, transportation, housing, broadband infrastructure. When you think about those kinds of things, and I walk in these rooms where we're having discussions and we're planning, you don't see a lot of African Americans, right? Especially in the business sector. We have got to change that because by being involved, we have a voice. And these forums and summits that we put on are an opportunity to have a seat at the table because, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, right?
Yep.
So we want to be at the table, inputting and having discussion. And, the whole idea behind a business public policy think tank is to bring people together, connect the key players in these respective industries, cross industries, and give business owners and the average individual an opportunity to meet with people who make decisions that affect you every day in just about every aspect of your life, right? So with that said, if I look at what we did last year, right, I've been blessed to be able to form a relationship with Eric Bullard. He's the dean of UCLA Extension. And UCLA Extension focuses on adult education, right? Now, why is that important? Well, there was some previous conversation around AI, but there's also a lot of other emerging technology. So our workforce and development and career fairs, which were funded generously by California Community Foundation, headed up by Miguel Santana, we are focused on making sure that whether you are entering the workforce, whether you are in the workforce, whether you have decided to exit the workforce, but maybe you'll hang on a little bit longer, that you have the skills to remain relevant, to remain effective, and to be able to operate in a way that allows you to be successful in your assignment, whether it be a business owner, a leader, an individual contributor, it doesn't matter. And so what does that mean practically speaking when you talk about that? When you look at as a business, how can you remain competitive in 2026? And, businesses now operate, you might have a brick and mortar and to a chain, right? But if you're a small business owner, operating and relying on your neighborhood to do business, you're going to get swallowed up and eaten up. Unless you do food service, if you are selling a product or a widget of any kind, You can look at the model right now of some of the fastest growing millionaires on the globe, and that's in China. So think about this, right? I have a small business and I sell products, maybe like Shein or Temu or some of the others, right? And you advertise on social media and people click on your ad, they like it, they place an order. And if you're the vendor or the business owner, you wait until you get an aggregate of businesses that want to, or individuals that want to buy your product. And once you get that, you have a relationship with a manufacturer. Many times it could be offshore, right? And you wait until you get a critical mass of orders and you place that order with the manufacturer. Now, remember this, you haven't spent a dime yet. They've spent money through their financial connection, right? Their financial platform. They have collected that money. They place the order with the manufacturer or wholesale distributor. That individual, that company drop ships it to your customer and you keep the remaining funds. You haven't spent a dime. That's a pretty cool business model. You don't have to keep inventory. You don't have to think about that. They handle it all. We have to mimic that because they have the fastest growing population of millionaires, emerging millionaires. Why can't we do that? Why can't we grow our business so that we have businesses that anchor our communities? Because the people that then work for us, we can pay them a thriving wage. And then, like when I was 30 years old, right, they can buy a house or a condo, which is one of the primary platforms to build wealth that can be passed on to generations, right? And once you build that wealth and you begin to seek out real estate to live in and own as opposed to rent, now you're establishing a community and a neighborhood that will go 10, 20 years. And once you do that, those property taxes go where? They go to schools. So now your kids are getting a better education. They're hiring better teachers. They have equipment. And now they have their choice of how they want to educate themselves, right? And whether that be locally, whether that be on the East Coast, wherever you decide to go. But the whole idea is to begin to build community through business. And that starts with educating yourself and making sure that you network with the right people. So when you talk about these forums, right? I was blessed with being the inaugural chair of the steering committee for California Jobs First. I served there with Sarah Harris, who's on here with me, and others, and was part of the development. I led the development of the governance structure, the bylaws, 3 levels of bylaws that had to be written from scratch. Regional plans, parts 1 and 2. We brought over $30 million over 2 plans into LA County. And that money went to organizations, community-based organizations, nonprofits, and even the county and some municipalities to create incubators for businesses, to educate folks, to get our economy rolling and energized. So I'm proud of that. And the reason I mentioned Dean Bullard, I sit on the board of UCLA Extension. He gave us full run of the building there on Gailey and Westwood, and people from all over the county, right? Everybody. They came and they filled that place up. We got people hired that day. But most importantly, we got businesses educated on the importance of investing in your workforce, how the return on investment comes in a better quality product, better efficiency, better revenue that becomes predictable and run rate, right? And the workforce becomes smarter. You have more options. And instead of becoming lifetime employees, how about getting to a point where you spin off and start your own business? That's the lesson to be learned. And so we did 3 of those, and they were very successful. I'm very happy that we had a chance to do that. Right after that, we did the Greater LA Fire Recovery Summit. And that was an eye opener. They were going after Mayor Bass, right? And I know as a leader, not on her level, but as a leader, there are variables outside of your control that sometimes lead to perceptions and misperceptions. So Mayor Bass came in and agreed to do a fireside chat, and she got a chance to tell her side of the story. And we were one-on-one on stage, and she did a great job, I felt, because we had contractors there, we had engineers, we had architects. Those of you that are in that industry that wanted to do business and helping to rebuild, not as a predator, but someone that wanted to add value and take some of the obstacles out of the way, whether it be permitting process, the environmental impact reports, clearing debris, working with public safety, whatever the case may be. We were all in that room. Blessed to have Danny Bakewell. Danny Tabor is my frat. He's my guy. Danny Bakewell Jr., resident of Altadena. His kid's house burned down. He was in there telling his story. He brought in contractors. The coolest thing that happened was that we had people in there through real life experience telling other contractors, other engineers how to solve the problems that they were facing. And, you all know that the Eden Fire in Altadena, that was a landmark stronghold of upwardly mobile African Americans in a community for the last 40, 50 years and beyond. That occurred because of redlining, because blacks couldn't buy in Pasadena. And
I was there. I was there at that summit, and I was so proud of Kevin sitting up on the stage with the mayor of Los Angeles doing a fireside chat. But you're 100% right. That meeting. There was a lot of connection. There was a lot of exchange of business cards and information at that meeting. That's probably one of the most powerful meetings you guys had. They're all good, but that one really was a pinnacle. So bravo to you for putting that together.
Thanks, Greg. And that's one of the purposes why we exist. We have the major events Business Readiness Summit, right? This is an opportunity for us to build what I call muscle memory. We brought in folks, we had the executive director from the Office of Major Events, Paul Kokorian, who was a city council member, but we also had Holly Mitchell. And along with LA28's Eric Aldridge, a couple deputy mayors, Dilpreet Sikyu and Rachel Freeman. We had, people like George Pla. You guys know who he is, right? He heads up the LA Coliseum Commission. He's the chairman of Cordoba. But, we had some powerful players. We had Chris Jackson, who was assistant city manager for the city of Inglewood. We had LA County Sheriff's assistant deputy, Jason Skeen. And the point is from every aspect of the major events in terms of what it's going to take to become a certified vendor, whether it be on a county or municipal level. What do I have to do? Who do I talk to? They were all in that room. We're all about accessibility. All you got to do is show up. The first step is registering. The second one is actually getting out of bed in the morning of the event. Forget that little gremlin in your ear that says, I don't feel like going. No, come. Because when you walk in there, you're going to walk out with a lot more knowledge, relationships, and networks. And, these are the things that we do, housing and clean energy. We have people in these events, that you just don't get to see every day. We talked about CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, and all the things that add up to 20% or more to the bottom line that get passed on to the customer. So when you wonder why the price of real estate is going up, it's more than just a lack of housing. We need to build more. But a lot of companies don't want to build more because of the permitting process and all the other issues around infill development, right? So what they say is drive north until you can afford it or drive east until you can afford it. Well, we're trying to make it different. Greg and I bought our houses as young men. I was 30. To buy a house in LA, the same house I bought for $169,000 in 1988 is going for about 1.2, 1.3 in Windsor Hills. No increase in footprint. Think about that. How are our kids going to be able to be able to do the things that we did without being discouraged? So our whole thing is to figure out how to fix these problems and to create a path of access for everyone. But the cool thing is, by helping everyone, I make sure that the Black community, the Latino community, the Asian community, the low-income white community, no one gets left behind. We fix these problems. I bring in people with power that they have to listen to. Well, guess what? When we fix those problems for the big guys, the problem gets fixed for the small developers as well. But the thing that I make sure of is that I appear and reach out to organizations like Community Briefing and others so that you're cognizant of the fact that we exist. You got to get here. You got to show up. I will say that Greg and Arnetta, Robin, Stephen, you all have been there, and I appreciate you for your support. As we move on, who would think that the water industry, for example, is something that we need to think about? I have two words: Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan. Well, guess what? As in every major metropolitan area, in the older communities, they're usually populated by disadvantaged populations. And what does that mean? That means that the delivery systems are aged. So they leak carcinogens, arsenic, lead into the water delivery systems. And who drinks it? We do, right? When it comes to broadband infrastructure, and I'm getting off topic, but this is relevant.
It's
Broadband
all wraps
infrastructure.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Broadband infrastructure. We do technology forums, right? And that's boring. But in those technology forums, we have all the internet service providers because they need to hear. I was on the Delete the Divide crew working with Selwyn Hollins and ISD for LA County. And when you look at those two infrastructures, right, somebody has to be in the room to talk about why it's necessary to fix the area that's the most. All right. I'm not alone, because people like Martin Ludlow, Robert Salcedo, and others, they're in this fight with me to make sure that, we're involved. And the other thing about Metropolitan Water District, who I have a very close relationship, in our last our last Water Resiliency Summit, which I had at LA Sanitation in Whittier, right? The current general manager over there at Metropolitan Water District was not the general manager when we had the forum. He was a panelist. The current chair was our keynote speaker. We had people from the California Water Resources Board come down, and it was I was the guy pulling all this stuff together. Now, the important thing is that water industry, they pay great jobs. We have a Black executive group in that industry. I bet none of you really know much about that, but they exist. This is Black History Month, so I'm giving it to you, right? We need to be aware of this. We need to show up. We need to hear the conversations. You need to come up to me and say, Kevin, who do I need to meet? I'll bring you into their presence. I don't have a problem with that. I just need you to show up, because if we don't show up, it's perceived that we don't care. And we do care. And they pay thriving wages. Thriving is an opportunity to be upward mobile, right? And so when you think about, technology, and we think about AI, there's fear in AI. Why? Because there's a lack of knowledge. You throw away you throw away the fear by getting educated. They call it artificial intelligence, because if you understand how it works, there's a search engine. Artificial intelligence, the way it works is that You put in information and it goes out in the global network infrastructure in every data center on the planet, and it pulls that information back to you. But guess where that information comes from? Us, human beings. So if the information is bogus, it's not going to be good information. That's why you can't believe everything that you read on the internet. Now, my foundation with Digital Equipment, Hewlett Packard, and Verizon, I was a director with them. We were involved in putting together this thing called the Information Superhighway, populating it with relevant information. How do we monetize it? Well, we figure out solutions and features that businesses can use. So in 1994, when the Telecom Act hit, I was part of that team with GTE. And we went in to help wipe out Pacific Bell. We did. And, at one time, I was the general manager for California Regulated Sales and Support, which is the #1 executive position in the state. I had legal, marketing, sales, operations. I had Hawaii, I had Alaska, I had all that. And the cool thing is that, when we got in with the engineers to figure out where we're going to lay our fiber, they couldn't fool me. I made sure that to the extent possible that we got our stuff upgraded, but still I couldn't win by myself. So it goes back to the need to make sure that we come in these environments. There's a lot of money in that space and you wouldn't know it. You might say, I'm not making money in the business I'm in now. I need to pivot. I pivoted 4 or 5 times in my career. And I'm in public policy now. Even though we're a business public policy think tank, the stuff that comes out of our forums becomes policy and becomes actionable items. The policy protects your gains. The policy kicks the door open to create gains. If you're not in the conversation, you don't get to have an opportunity to influence in the formation of the thought leaders' policy, the way they think. You walk in 100% dug in with your, it's going to be this way. When you walk out, after having looked at things through another's lens with factual empirical data, you walk out with 70% of what you walked in with. So what does that mean? That means that it's my job to weave a circle around the areas of consensus so that we can agree on something, put our resources together, and then move forward. We don't want to see 20% of LAUSD students in disadvantaged communities lose a year of school because their parents didn't have the devices or internet access for remote learning. People lost jobs because they had to stay at home, but they didn't have a computer or they didn't have internet access. Or they had the kids in the house, the parents in the house. Zoom wasn't working with that kind of bandwidth load. Wasn't happening. So we learned a lot from that pandemic. And another one's always just around the corner.
Yeah.
So when we look at stuff like that, it's very important, and our upcoming summit.
I was just about to take you there. I was just about to say, before we get to Q&A, let's talk about the summit coming up on March 26th.
I'll make it quick then. Business access to funding. I know nobody here needs money. I know y'all got all the money you need. But for those of you that may not, this is an opportunity to come in and listen to Miguel Santana. If you don't know him, he's the president CEO of California Community Foundation. They are a grantor, they're a grant maker, and they have a ton of resources to help small business. I was at the California African American Chamber of Commerce Economic Summit as a AI and business panelist. Yeah, that's why I know a little bit about AI. And I had a chance to corner a friend, Fiona Ma, our state treasurer. She agreed to come in and she followed through. She is one big advocate for disadvantaged communities. I'm telling you, she shows up. I got Libby Williams. All right. And Libby is, a great supporter. And, she's in the mayor's office. And so we're going to be doing this Access to Funding Summit. We have CDFIs. We got someone from LAEDC, Veronica Pugin. She's a VP over there. We got Jazz Keys, President and CEO of Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corp. We got Jennifer Whalen from PACE. And we got our friend Mark Robertson from PCR. We got power players who focus on coaching and providing financial support in the form of loans to small businesses here. And they care about you and they want to talk to you and they want to coach you to make sure that you're certified as a business to go out and get federal, state, municipal contracts. Then we got the banks, right? We got BMO. They got a guy over there, Angels Pastrana. He's a coach, business relationship banker. He is a force of nature. We got Mario Bustamante, business relationship manager, B of A. All right. And, we also have Lucy Cesena from Chase Bank and Chase right there on Crenshaw and Angeles Vista. They're a big community supporter and funder for small business. So, and then we also have our guy, Bill Stevens from the Employers Group. And he's going to do a poll and make sure that, we capture everything that's important to those that are in the forum and those that are out that don't get a chance to come and share the information, kind of set the table for the discussion. So if you want to come and learn how to package your business, whether it be your credit, your business plan, your marketing sales strategy, your operational efficiency, this is the place to be. March 26th, right across from what used to be the Fox Hills Mall, which is rebranded to the Westfield Shopping Center, but right there in Culver City. Not far at all. Come, sit down, listen, learn, network. Let's make some business happen. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you, Kevin. And Robin's going to take it from here to do some Q&A. I hope that I know that you have inspired some thoughts and ideas. And so, Robin, over to you. Let's see what the folks got to say.
Kevin, thank you so much for the work that you do and the simplicity of how you present. You a lot of times people do presentations and they talk their industry language and you lose the audience because you're not speaking directly to, as my mother say, speak to a point that a fool can understand what you're talking about, at least to the fifth grade level, right? So I'm not deriving anybody who just went to the fifth grade, but thank you for that. And again, one of the things that you talked about at the top of the conversation is this infrastructure piece. To me, I have a background in commercial real estate, construction financing. I'm a deal junkie. I'm still a deal junkie. And so infrastructure to me is the most critical piece around anything that's going on. With the Biden administration, there was over, $1.8 trillion in infrastructure money that folks were trying to access. We get a new administration. How do we break into the funding that's there for the infrastructure? And to your point, the folks that own the properties where the worst parts of our infrastructure are older Black and brown folks who cannot afford to upgrade, nor can a developer coming into the marketplace afford to pay for the infrastructure project by project, right? So talk a little bit about, what I see is this broad opportunity to get involved with infrastructure, this broad opportunity to get involved with the water, this broad opportunity to get involved with tech. Those three things is what's going to drive the marketplace.
So let me break it down real quick. Robin, you made a great point, right? Let's look at infill development. Now, I grew up right on Norton, just north of Stocker, right? That's my neighborhood. And if you've been on Crenshaw from Stocker all the way to, say, 54th, you saw all the new condos and rentals go up. And so that creates more density. And so when you decide to build, when you already have a stress on the infrastructure,
right,
where's all that water coming from? Then the extra water, and we're in a drought, right? Where is the electricity coming from? Right? How do we create a situation where there are no rolling blackouts? Right? How come we don't have EV charging stations in our neighborhoods? Right? What you've got to do is get with organizations like mine and other nonprofits that are out there that help the owners of this effort understand the return on investment if they sit down with business, public agency, right, and the individuals in the neighborhood, a public-private partnership.
Has to be.
And so we provide a platform for that, but there are others. And we get to understand how the money works. Because once they understand that, and there's a place, because, the government can't do it all. And so do you have a business that can plug in where the government or the public-private partnership has a weakness? Can you plug in? Then you get to write your own ticket. And you start that process by going to these meetings. And we're one of the major ones, but we're not the only one, right?
Well, I'm going to follow up with you because I've been working on a project with Michael Anderson for the last 5-7 years.
My guy.
And Michael, he has a solution.
Yes, he
We're
does.
trying to get the right people to the table, trying to get the right political people to the table.
Yes.
Because the private sector, we got it lined up. So I appreciate the fact that a public-private partnership is the only way this is going to work. My contention has always been, when you work for the government, you know how the government works.
Right.
If you've not worked in private sector, you really don't know how things operate.
Well, Robin, you're a thought leader. You and Rochelle Mills, people like Rochelle Mills, she is a Black developer, female. She is a killer out there, a force of nature.
Yes.
Michael, they've both been panelists trying to share this knowledge. I'm not bringing anybody to the table. When I bring people that look like us to the table, they are powerhouses.
Yes.
And they communicate it. I just need more people like us in the room to get that, capture that information, and then use it. Mm-hmm. So to your point, Michael he gets it. From soup to nuts, he gets it. And he and I have had extensive conversations. And we have more people like us that we don't realize. But we also got to realize that there are people outside of our community that we have to form relationships with. People that are actually cool, that you wouldn't mind doing business with. Because I'll be candid with you. You know what transcends bias, bigotry, racism, discrimination? Money.
It's green.
Money. Right?
It's green. It ain't black or brown.
That's right. Right? But the thing I do, because I am a believer, I got to put this plug in for Almighty God and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You got to do the right thing. You got to play fair. You can't come in and play games. If you do that, you get to pray over what you do. And guess what? When things seem to go weird, all of a sudden things fall out of the sky and help you. I'm telling you, I'm 68. I live my life this way. So when you put the effort in, you study, prayer without legs doesn't give you anything, right? You do all that, then what you're going to get is success. And so your question is just like, I live in Antelope Valley, right? And I work with Antelope Valley Eastern Kern Water District. You know what? They've got enough water out here to double the population. Think about that for a minute. To double the population. So this is the only, they don't make more land, right, Robin? There's no more land. There's available land, there's empty land, but the only way you're going to be able to grow is expand your horizons, right? So, I hope you do look me up because, quiet as kept. I was one of the, I'm not Jamaican, but I acted like one. Greg, I had a California real estate license. It's a time where I owned apartment buildings, I flipped houses, and I sold houses.
Yeah, man. He had 10 jobs, man.
One of the things that you've said, Kevin, and it's a thing that we talk about every week. You can't just do one thing,
No.
and you can't sit on the sidelines and wait on, the rescue ranger, right?
No.
That doesn't exist. It does
We're
not
who
exist.
we've been waiting for.
You got to engage.
You got to engage. Because at the end of the day, it's so funny. I don't like to get in political discussions, right? I deal with Republicans. I deal with Democrats. I deal with all that. And my whole
Money is
thing
green.
is,
Money is green.
at the end of the day, I vote for who does right. I vote by my conscience, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about, who is going to make sure that everybody's included in the party. Do we all have a chance to play? Because I don't know too many African American people that are waiting here to knock on their door with an envelope of money to pay their rent. We some of the hardest working people that ever existed. And, even though there is an effort to take away some of these opportunities that are needed, I said this at Cal State LA the night before last at the Bridging Employment Gap with Professor James Thomas of Ethnic Studies. I told him, I said, look, nobody cares about, you not having an opportunity. Nobody cares. I said, I care. I said, your elders, your family, your community, we care. So we need you to get this education and come talk to us so that there's an intergenerational passing of knowledge. The only thing we need you to do is once we give it to you, act on it. I'm waiting on some smart person that, that will come to a communication, cybersecurity, and AI where I got people from Amazon, the global technology officer, Leo Zananovsky. He showed up 2 years in a row, Polish guy, smart as heck, and is willing to talk to anybody, right? Another guy from NVIDIA, African American, came out from Georgia, NVIDIA, right? They are one of the platforms, the chip makers for AI and Chat GPT.
Little small company, right?
They're a little small company, but he came out. He was African, and believe it or not, we showed up. We showed up at the Verizon 5G Innovation Lab right there on Jefferson in Marina Del Rey. Playa Del Rey. We showed up though.
The beautiful thing is, as we do every week, we bring folks like you on this community briefing every week, imparting exceptional information. The question becomes, once you get the information, what are you doing with it, right? And there's an itis. I think there's an itis there that we're trying to figure out how to get past that thing, right? Because again, we value and appreciate you taking the time to come on here and be a part of our community. And we also know that the only way any of us get a lift is we all get a lift, right? And so thank you again for what you do. Thank you again for illuminating infrastructure, the technology, and these opportunities that are out there that folks are not taking advantage of. And part of it, to your point, part of it is they're just scared, right? So again, the community is here to hold your hand, get you prepared to walk, to start walking. Matter of fact, to start running. We have to start running. We keep slow walking is not going to work anymore. It's not going to work anymore because
the intelligence is in our DNA.
That's it. No question about it. No question about it. And I always say the Lord sent us here. He sent everybody here with everything they need to be successful. Stop looking outside yourself. Start working on yourself. Start working in community.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask Greg, did you have any other questions, or did someone else want to raise a question before?
Well, I also I don't want to leave out, coming up on May 27th, the Build Up LA series for the Business Readiness Summit. What's going to be going on on May 27th there, Kev?
Yeah, so it's the second year. We're following up on what we did last year to make sure that businesses are ready, right, for the major events, whether it be the World Cup, the Super Bowl, the Olympics, Paralympics, but most importantly, there are emerging and sustainable industries. We work with LAEDC with California Jobs First, and industries like transportation, bioscience, aerospace. We talked about water resiliency. All these opportunities to that, businesses will have to get packaged ready to get an understanding of what these industries are looking for for your business to be able to get a solid end and sustain itself for the next 10 or 20 years. I put in the link. Oh, you did too, Greg. Thank you. I put in the link to register. So, all you on this call, I expect you to be here. I expect you to be there and show up because there's always something for us to learn. I learn something every day.
One of the things I said before the CP, Gwen Moore was like my shero, and she allowed me to sit before the CPUC a couple of times. And one of the comments that I made easily 10 years ago, if a plumber can lay pipe next to fiber optics, why can't he be trained to lay fiber optics?
Well, we call it micro trenching.
There you go.
That's what they use, and they have plumbing skills.
Yes.
But check this out, right? First house I bought in Ladera Heights, going to Ladera, Starbucks, hanging out. I saw this dude, his, scruffy jacket, jeans, and dirty boots. I see him later pull up to this house, and then he kisses this lady with a gold wing Benz. He's black in the big old house. And I said, hey, he said, yeah, man, it's my wife, it's my house. I said, oh, the plumber.
Yes.
One of the biggest. Yeah.
Trades.
Don't sleep the trades.
He said, I can dig it.
The trades.
Don't sleep the trades.
Yeah.
Because they don't go to college when they come out with debt. They start out as apprentices. They get in that trade, they save that money, and then they start a business. And then they grow that business. We got to get more African Americans in the trades, and that's another story. There's an issue there that I'm working on.
And DWP got one of the fattest pensions in the city.
That's right.
And if you get working on those lines and get trained in the high power lines, you can go anywhere in the world. And
so plumbing, electrician, operators,
HVAC,
heavy equipment operators.
HVAC,
those three make big money.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Well, again, we illuminate. The whole mission every week here is to illuminate, educate, and identify resources.
Amen.
So when you're around us, you're not going to say you didn't know. Now, what you did with it, that's on you. But you're not going to be able to say you didn't know. So again, thank you for that. We look forward to the March 26th event, the business access to funding. And then on May 27th, the Business Ready program. The only thing I ask you about the Business Ready program, please make sure the primes are there, because the primes have already been selected.
Well,
and so these smaller businesses, the best that they can do is to be a subcontractor. That's excellent money. That's excellent money without having to carry the load of cybersecurity and some of these other requirements that that are required.
So I want to have some of the primes there. I want to have people. I want Chris Jackson, assistant city manager from Inglewood, to come back, because that's going to be ground zero. I got Danetta Jackson, who I met at the California African American Economic Summit.
She's excellent.
Yes. Statewide Supplier Diversity Program Manager. She's already committed.
She's excellent.
Right. So I got Kelly Lobianco, people like that. Okay. Excellent. And I got relationships with them.
Yeah. I've been a 45-year resident of the city of Inglewood, and I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, my job is to take the mystery out of it, Robin.
There is no mystery.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that alone. There is no mystery. 40 plus years in commercial real estate, so there is no mystery.
Well, yeah. Well, you got the knowledge.
So I ask the hard questions that sometimes people don't want to answer.
Well, you know what? But hard questions brings growth.
Yes. Yeah. You've been fantastic, dude. We've never had a conversation, but AKA Psi.
KA side, Kappa Alpha side.
Well,
hey, leave it alone, Greg.
Yeah, you the guest. Yeah.
But Greg and I have known each other for 45 years, and We go back and forth, Alpha to Kappa. It's all good.
You already know.
But my father-in-law wrote the Kappa's hymn.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
noble
recognize.
Kappa, Alpha Psi.
You
All
guys,
right.
this
So
is
not
you.
to
This
not
has
let
been
to not let
delightful.
Joseph down. Share us a little bit about your work with the UCLA and the Black Alumni Association at the University of California, Los Angeles.
So one of the primary areas that we got a chance to impact after Prop 209, we got down to at one point we had 70-something students out of thousands
Mm-hmm.
enroll in the freshman class. 70-something Black students, right? We tripled that during my tenure and quadrupled it in the administrations after that. We still have a focus on that with the Winston C. Dobie Scholarship Fundraiser on March 7th. Okay, y'all got to go on UCLA Black Alumni website, sign up. You got to be there. We're all going to be there.
30
Okay,
seconds.
Chris.
Who was Winston C. Dobie?
Winston C. Dobie was the first vice chancellor of academic affairs at UCLA
Mm-hmm.
and the longest serving, over 20 something years. He was also a Kappa man, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. But most importantly, he laid the foundation and changed perceptions, made sure he laid the foundation for Darnell Hunt, who's a provost there, and others like him, Charles Alexander. We got people on campus. We got players. We got Yolanda Gorman, who's the executive director, also assistant vice chancellor for UCLA alumni. Black woman, AKA, we were undergrads together. And she goes out of her way to support me. So I wasn't that bad as a Kappa, as an undergrad. Got an AKA, got my back. Yes.
This is fantastic. We want to thank you. We want to thank some of the folks who dialed in to support you. We invite you guys to come back. We are always looking for speakers. Kevin, you've been deemed our public policy correspondent. So we expect to hear from you regularly. And if you're not here, always just send the information and we'll make sure we put it in the chat box. And so that the marketplace can't say they didn't know, right?
Always ready to serve, Robin.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate you.
We
Appreciate you
got
all
some.
too. Thank you for
We got
having
some
me.
newbies here that joined us. Anybody you recognize, Kevin, that you invited and tagged along?
Well, you know me now.
If you don't know, now you know.
Jim, thanks for chiming in, and Carl, thanks for chiming in, and Arnetta, that's family.
Well,
and I cannot pronounce this name, but it looks beautiful. Chimoya, Chioma, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
She's
Thank
with
you. Good
LAEDC.
afternoon, everyone.
Good
Yes, I'm
afternoon.
with LAEDC, California Jobs First Team, and so we were glad to have Mr. Kevin Harbour as our inaugural chair, and it's great to hear the conversation today. Thank you
Thank
all.
you. We want you to come back, young lady.
Oh, I'll definitely be back. I'll be back.
She is incredible.
We'd like you guys. Stephen Turner is our producer.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Greg. Go ahead.
Do come back next week. Our guest is Mr. Stephen Bradford, and he is on the ticket to be the next California commissioner on for insurance. So certainly tune in. Stephen Bradford, former state assembly member. He's done a bunch of other stuff, but doesn't come to mind right now. But Stephen Bradford and good friends of ours and good for the community. He'll join us next Thursday, the 19th. So come back and check out Mr. Stephen Bradford. And speaking of Stephen Turner, you there? You want to come on and say a few words, or if capable? There he is. Oh, you're in San Francisco, huh?
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Yep.
I'm still on mute.
Yeah, now you got it.
You're good.
Kevin, thank you ever so much for being. You are very insightful, great. so much wisdom to the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking, Stephen. Appreciate you, brother.
And I'll schedule alumni dinner on the 6th of March.
Yes, we will be there.
Excellent.
Cool. All right. So we
All right,
will,
guys.
as we usually do, we'll stop our recording. Pause. I want to stop it.